These are two of the most crazy home invasion stories, and one of them has the biggest twists at the end. Tucker had always been a simple farmer, content with his life on his farm in the middle of nowhere. He loved the peace and quiet on the countryside, the smell of freshly cut grass, and the satisfaction of growing his own food. But little did he know, his peaceful life was about to be shattered by a terrifying and gruesome event. It was a dark and stormy night when Tucker heard a loud banging on his front door. He was surprised, as he wasn't expecting any visitors at this late hour. He cautiously made his way through the door, his heart beating faster with each step. As he peered through the peephole, he saw a figure standing on his porch, their face obstructed by the heavy rain. Tucker hesitated, unsure what to do. He lived far from any neighbours, and he thought a stranger showing up to his doorstep in the middle of the night was unsettling. But before he could make a decision, the figure started banging on the door again, this time more aggressively. Feeling a sense of urgency, Tucker opened the door, only to be met by a masked man wielding a large knife. Before he could even react, the man lunged at him, thrusting the knife into his chest. Tucker let out a scream of pain as he fell to the ground, his vision blurring. As he laid there, struggling to stay conscious, he saw the man rummaging through his house, searching for something. Tucker couldn't understand why anyone would want to harm him or steal from him. He was just a simple farmer living a peaceful life. But as the man finished his search and left the house, Tucker's last thought before he lost consciousness was that this was just a terrible nightmare, but unfortunately it was all too real. The next morning, the sun rose over the farm, casting a warm glow over the fields, but the usual sounds of nature were absent. The birds were silent, and the animals were nowhere to be seen. It was as if the farm was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Tucker's absence was noticed by his parents, who had come to rely on him for fresh produce and eggs. They were worried about his well-being, because they hadn't heard from him for a while now, so they got in their car and decided to pay him a visit to check on him. As they approached the farm, they noticed that something was off. The front door was wide open, and there was signs of a struggle inside. His parents' concern turned into fear, and they quickly called the police. When the police arrived, they found Tucker's lifeless body in the living room, surrounded by a pool of blood. The scene was gruesome, and it was clear he had put up a fight against his attacker. The police searched the house for any clues or evidence, but there was nothing. It was as if the killer had vanished into thin air. The news of Tucker's murder spread quickly, and the small community was in shock. Everyone knew Tucker, and no one could understand why anyone would want to harm him. The police launched an investigation, but they were unable to find any leads. Months went by, and the case went cold. The farm was abandoned, and once lively fields became overgrown with weeds. But the memory of Tucker's murder still haunted the small community. One night, a group of teenagers decided to explore the abandoned farm. They had heard rumours and wanted to see if they were true. As they were wandering through the fields, they stumbled upon an old barn. Curiosity got the best of them, and they decided to check it out. As they entered the barn, they were hit with a foul stench that made their stomachs turn. They turned on their flashlights and saw something that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Lying on the ground was the decomposing body of Tucker's killer, a rope tied around his neck. The teenagers were horrified and quickly ran out of the barn. Never looking back, they called the police, who arrived to find the killer's body and a note next to it. The note read, "I couldn't take the guilt anymore. I killed Tucker, and now I can't live with myself." The community was shocked by the turn of events, and they couldn't believe that the killer had been living among them all along. But for Tucker, it was too late. He had lost his life, and justice had not been served. The farm remained abandoned, and the barn became known as a haunted place. People claimed to hear Tucker's screams at night, and some even reported seeing ghosts wandering the fields. But for those who knew the truth, they knew that Tucker's spirit was finally at peace, knowing that the killer had been brought to justice. Mary had always been a kind and caring person, and had a natural way with children, and loved spending time with them. That's what made her decide to become a babysitter. She enjoyed the company of the little ones, and the parents trusted her with the children. Mary lived in a small town called Calico, which was known for its creepy atmosphere. The town was surrounded by dense forests, and the streets were dimly lit. The houses were old and abandoned, giving the town a spooky vibe. However, Mary had never been afraid of the town. She had grown up there and knew every corner of it. One night, Mary received a call from a new client. The parents were going out for a date and needed someone to look after their 2-year-old daughter, Lily. Mary was excited to meet the little girl and agreed to take on the job. Upon arrival at the house around 8 PM, the house was located at the edge of the town, away from the other houses. It was big. Mary was a bit hesitant to enter the house as it looked eerie, but she brushed off her fears and rang the doorbell. To her surprise, the door was already open. She cautiously entered the house and called out for Lily's parents. There was no response. Mary noticed a note on the table that read, "Lily is asleep in her room. Please do not disturb her." Mary found it strange that the parents had left without even meeting her, but Mary shrugged it off, thinking that maybe they were just in a hurry. She made her way to Lily's room, which was on the second floor, and entering the room to then see Lily sleeping peacefully in her crib. Mary smiled and sat down on the rocking chair next to the crib. She started humming a lullaby and gently rocked the chair, suddenly hearing a creaking sound coming from the hallway, and stopped humming and listened carefully. The sound stopped, and Mary convinced herself that it was just the old house making noises and just continued to rock the chair. But the creaking sound grew louder. It became apparent it was coming from the hallway. Mary got up and walked towards the door, and peeped out but saw nothing, just shrugging it off as her imagination, and went back to the rocking chair. But the creaking sound continued. It was getting closer. Her heart started racing and could feel a chill down her spine. Mary knew she had to be brave for Lily's sake. Slowly getting up and heading towards the door, seeing a shadow moving in the hallway. Panicked, Mary quickly closed the door, locking it from the inside. Mary's mind was racing with thoughts. Who could be in the house? Were the parents playing a prank on her? Deciding to call them to ask for help, but to her horror, it made her realise that her phone was missing. Knowing this information, the only option is that it must have been left downstairs. She couldn't leave Lily alone and go downstairs, and decided to stay in the room with Lily until her parents came back. Sitting there, she heard footsteps approaching the room, holding her breath and waited for the person to leave. But the footsteps stopped right outside the door. Mary could feel her heart pounding in her chest. Slowly getting up and looking through the keyhole, seeing a man standing outside, wearing a black hat and a long coat. She couldn't see his face, but she knew he was staring right at her. Frozen with fear, she couldn't move or scream, but just stood there, looking at the man through the keyhole. Suddenly, the man started banging on the door, trying to break it open. Mary ran towards Lily, picking her up, frantically searched for a place to hide, but there was no place to hide in the room. After remembering the attic, quickly climbing the ladder and locking the door behind her, hearing the man trying to break open the door, but he couldn't, Mary let out a sigh of relief and hugged Lily tightly. But her relief was short-lived. The man's footsteps slowly approached the attic. Knowing she had to do something to protect Lily, scanning the room, looking around and finding a wooden plank. Holding it tightly, ready to defend herself and Lily, the door burst open and the man stepped inside. Mary couldn't see his face, as he was wearing a black mask. He lunged towards her, but Mary was quick to defend herself. She hit him with the wooden plank, and he fell to the ground. Mary quickly grabbed Lily and ran towards the window and opened it before climbing out, holding Lily in her arms, running towards the forest, not looking back. She could hear the man chasing her, but didn't stop, continuously running until she reached the town's main street, where Mary saw a police car, screaming for help, and the police officers came to her rescue. They arrested the man, who turned out to be a wanted criminal. The next day, Mary went to the police station to give her statement. She also met Lily's parents, who were shocked to hear what happened. They apologised for not being there and thanked Mary for protecting their daughter. Mary decided to never babysit again and left Calico. If you like my storytelling, check out my other videos here. Remember to like and subscribe.